from Berry in South Australia made contact with me asking if there were any lessons or tips and hints on grant writing, because she and another lady at Berry have been left as being the only ones who might have sort of the skills or the interest to apply for grants. And I thought, well, you know, I don't think Berry is alone, and there's a lot of clubs out there who possibly would like a few tips and hints on writing grants, because grants seem to be the mainstay these days of income, and sense of purpose and funding for projects and things like that. So we convened this because of your inquiry, Kay.
Thank you.
That's okay. So what I felt was, rather than fill you all with a PowerPoint display, it'll be more of a bit of a share experiences and talk fest and hints and tips that I've certainly gathered over 30 years of writing grants. Not all of them have been successful. They're not all successful, but you do learn from your mistakes. I do have to say, I've probably, I think I've really only not got two, and one was for ASCCA, and one was here in Walpole. But there are basic sort of things to keep note of if you're going to apply for grants, and I don't know if I want to sort of kill you with complications at all. So what I thought I might do is just run around and see where everyone is at. Have you applied for a grant? Are you a newbie at applying for grants? Have you got a project in mind already? And you know, what you hope to achieve out of the grant funds, because it could sort of help how we talk about it. So starting from my left, David, can you kick off and let us know what your interest in grant writing is?
As far as grants go, with Berry Computers, we don't at this stage need any extra money, because we're quite financial. Being subsidised by the church makes things a lot cheaper. But apart from that, previously the guy who was president prior to me, he loved grants and he was always applying for them and quite successful with them too. But me, I'm terrible at it.
It seems to be a skill now.
Sorry?
It seems
There is
to be
a skill.
A skill, yeah.
Yes, yes.
And specific on what you have to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my big problem personally is that I'm good at many things, but I can't write stories. And that's
well, have I got a deal for you a bit later, David?
Oh, good. It's going to cost me money?
No, it doesn't have to.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
So, Kay, did you have a project in mind that you thought you needed some grant writing skills to apply for?
We have to upgrade our kitchen. It is awful. And there was one, it was only up to 10,000 from the government, which is not going to be anywhere near what it's going to cost us to upgrade. And I looked at the form and started filling it out and thinking, oh, heck. And to me, it seemed to be repetitious. Every question seemed to be they wanted you to write the same thing in different words. Well, that's how I took it. We did have one counsellor up here that said she would help us whenever we needed a grant. Trouble is we lost her suddenly too, so another cancer patient. So, yeah, we're wanting to put in to get a bit of money. We're prepared, of course, to pay some towards the upgrade, but we'd like to get some assistance, government, council, whatever, to upgrade the kitchen, because it really is. And now our hall is being used by a lot of different groups, and you look at the kitchen and you think, this is disgusting. You know, it just needs doing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Just one thing on that, Kay. Is the hall and the kitchen owned by the local government authority?
It's a touchy point. The seniors put it on there. The seniors built it, but it's on council land. So we still have to get approval from council, and we're still paying quite extensively for insurance and emergency levies and everything else to the council. Council consider
so
it
you have a
theirs.
lease.
So yeah, it's on a lease, but we actually put the building there. But because it's on their land, yeah. So they did say that they may help us a little bit with the kitchen. Again, it's going to have to be in as a grant, you know, application for a grant. So it's, even though I've asked the ASCCA group, it's not actually for grant writing for computers or things like that.
No.
No. It's just that I needed to start somewhere, and I thought this, you know, that would be the area. So at the moment, the big one is kitchen replacement, kitchen revamp.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got that. So Philip,
yes.
Where are you sitting?
I'm the president of the Waterwheel Community Shed, who used to be the Rolling Stone Men's Community Shed. We moved into a refurbished fire station about 2 years ago, and we do exist a lot on grants. The treasurer, unfortunately, is the ex-mayor of Armidale, and he's well used to dealing with grants on both sides of the fence. So we always have 2 or 3 in the wings going at any one time. As far as writing grants goes, I did one for Lottery West for our initial grant for the shed, and 1 or 2 of the small ones. And it struck me that you're quite right, Kay, with this repetition thing. They lay down their parameters. You then have to answer it by answering those parameters, and it ends up the same answer 10 different ways. And I don't know why they do that. Perhaps they think the first time you didn't mean it, or by the 10th time you probably mean what you say. I don't know. The other thing is, whatever the grant is, the maximum is for the grant, don't apply for the maximum. Always come in a bit under. You know, if it's 10 grand, come in at 890. 8,900 or something like that, and support it with guesstimates of what it's going to cost from whoever. You know, if you can do that, it looks more realistic than saying, "Oh yes, you're offering 10 grand. I'll take 10 grand," without being able to support why. You know.
So
Absolutely.
if we're
no. All right, I'll message her and just tell her that she's dropped. You keep going, Jen, and I'll help.
Yeah, sure. So Philip, did you have a particular project in mind as to why you're sort of going to be applying for a grant, or want some more hints and tips on it?
No, I'm just interested in hearing other people's problems, etc. Okay. So if we run into them, I've got a heads up on it.
Sorry, I just lost you for a minute.
Yeah.
Yes,
no,
I know.
Just going on that, Philip. Yeah. So if ours is going to be, say, 80,000 to redo the kitchen, and they're saying maximum of 10, would you say still to go less than the 10?
Yeah, well, you can get close to it, but the figure's got to be accurate, if you know what I mean. You get an estimate for someone for $9,953.
Oh no, this is
and you back it up.
80,000.
Yeah, but if it's 80,000,
in that case, I'd go for the whole lot.
Yeah, I'd go
because you're going to have multiple funding bodies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I go for a different grant
I
for the
just
whole
wanted
amount.
to verify that. Yeah.
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 But,
Yeah.
No, I knew
If-
I had
if
to
you
have.
would perhaps-
yeah, I was going to say, because it's actually, I know you built it, but it's owned by the council. Really, they should have some responsibility for the kitchen,
Yes.
because council operated buildings usually insist on stainless steel worktops, dishwasher, you know, all sorts of items, because that's their
Absolutely.
standard format.
It's their
so-
asset.
It's our building on their land,
yeah,
and we've checked. We don't have to go stainless steel because we're not a commercial kitchen.
okay, fair enough.
So, yeah, if we went a commercial kitchen, we would have to go the whole hog, stainless
All
steel
out. Yes.
dishwasher.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
80,000 sounds a lot for a new kitchen.
80. Well, no, they're going to have. Well, yeah. I mean, that's including the stove, range hood, hot plate.
Okay.
You know, so that's the ultimate of doing them. For the cupboards and that, it's most probably going to be 50 something,
Oh, good
just for
Lord.
the cupboards, and then we do the other. You know, put our own. Well, we don't even have a dishwasher at the moment because
Yeah.
I think no one's going to empty it but me, so why have it?
Know the story.
I love it.
They will put it in,
Yeah.
but even the people that hire the hall, they have to clean up after them. If there's a dishwasher,
Yeah.
I can see the dishwasher being full.
But
Yes.
it's definite that the council won't help you.
They may to a point, but that's where I've got to learn to put in a grant for them too, to them. So
Yeah.
whether we put the grant into government for part or whether we put it into council, I still need how to write.
Do it. Yeah.
Can I offer a
grant.
suggestion, Kay?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know how big your town or city or community is down there.
Town. Yes.
Town? Yep.
Yep.
Do you have a local Bunnings or a Home Hardware or any of
Yes.
those?
We've got a Bunnings now in Berry. Yep.
Yep. So Bunnings is a big corporate, so maybe you'd need to find a human being at the shop that you could say, do you have any philanthropic desires? Something like a Home Hardware, it's usually locally owned, so they might be in a position to sponsor some of the cupboards, because apparently Home Hardware here does like the prefab kitchen cupboards like
I
Bunno's
was going to
does.
say that.
Yeah, so
Well,
worth
I've
maybe.
I've gone to Bunnings and they have drawn up a suggested plan.
Yeah.
But
So
the problem with Bunnings was that theirs is all it's a kit
Fabricated.
form.
yes,
We have to get someone to put it, but their kit, because of the funny shapes, where the window is and where this is and where that is, their kit doesn't actually fit into a design.
Yeah, okay.
So we have been to Bunnings, and he's actually the designer for the kitchen is my son-in-law. So
Good.
But as for sponsorship, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. So I'm just going to pop a link in the chat panel for one that I've just looked for. So this is the West Farmers Community Grants Program. So that might be an option to have a look at. They're closed for 2023-24, but there might be more coming up.
Right.
So it's worth having. There's a Clean Heat Community Grants in there as well.
So would these be?
Oh no, West.
Yeah. See, West Farmers, is that only Western Australia?
No, but they own Bunnings. They own Bunnings and
They
Coles.
own Bunnings.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's one of the aspects that I was going to touch on anyway. A little bit further on is like if you've got a large project, that's why I really wanted to know what your aims and goals were, everyone's, so that if we were going to talk about a single grant application, you do da 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 da. If you've got a large project like you have, Kay, you're going to have manage it sort of like on a table or a spreadsheet, and have multiple grant funding bodies that form part of the overall project. And
Right.
Quite a few years ago, I was actually involved in the upgrade of the kitchen of our local hall, as in dishwasher, cupboards, range hoods, and things like that. And that was a multi-grant thing as well, and it is in a Shire-owned hall. And believe it or not, I've still got the paperwork digitally, so I could drag that out, and you could use sort of, I don't know, maybe glean a few bits of ideas out of it to pull it together, and that great. Sort of thing. Yeah. So, but I think go on.
So just so that I'm getting the idea, so you would say put in for a grant for one person, one outfit, but then like say put in for another one for the dishwasher or
yes.
So break it down into so you're not asking for the whole lot, you're just doing the cupboards, you're just doing the stove, dishwasher. Okay.
Like that. And also, you know, it could be progressive also. You know, if what's the population of Berry?
Don't know.
Obviously bigger than Walpole.
4,000 or 5,000. Yeah, I know Walpole. Yeah.
Good day. So you might have a Retrovision store or a Harvey Norman or something like that as well.
Yeah, we've got a better.
And you know, there's different things. So we'll come back to that. So when we go through that now, Marilyn, we better hear from Marilyn, and then we can maybe pull a few ideas together.
Oh, look, I thought Ralph would be on today. He's our president of the Hills, and he's obtained a few smaller grants for us, but I haven't been involved in them at all. I'm no help.
Right.
So where are you
from? Right,
okay. Castle Hill.
Sorry?
Castle Hill. I have been involved with grants for our show society for the showground at Castle Hill, but they're kind of different, really. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's grants and they're grants, but at the end of the day, you still want some money, don't you, really? Yeah.
Well, it's interesting when you were talking before about the men's shed, because my husband's the secretary of the Barmera Men's Shed, which is, they had a really old building and, you know, need to upgrade there. So it's going to be helpful there that I might be able to help him too. So it's going to go around the circle.
Good. Well, just one thing I'll share with you. I'm not going to share it on the screen. I'll read it if I can find it again. Got it here. Quite a few years ago here in Walpole, we decided that it was about time we got a museum. Walpole's not all that old. It was only founded in 1930. And in the wee small hours of one morning when I couldn't sleep, which is fairly often, I dreamed up this grand plan, and it was a bit of a proposal. And what I did is everything sort of about grants, doesn't matter whether they're small or large, they're always running around in your head, and you really need to sort of pull them together and put them in some sort of order so that, you know, you can share the idea with people. So I wrote this proposal. It didn't go anywhere, but it has since gone somewhere. So I did it in 2016, believe it or not, and here we are in 2023, and it looks like, you know, slightly different format. it's going to become a reality. And all of a sudden, it's my baby. Walpole was a mill town in the forest, still in the forest. And further up the line, there was the small mill establishment called Shannon. And there were lots of sheds. And when Shannon Mill closed down, they brought the sheds down to Walpole. And some of them are still in use, but they've become superfluous now, and they've got historical value. And our community hall was actually brought from Shannon Mill in 1972. They dismantled it in Shannon, took it apart, weatherboard by weatherboard, loaded it all on a truck, numbered all the boards, brought it down to Walpole, put it on a block of land in the middle of town, and put all the boards back up and built the hall. So that's got historical value, having come from Shannon. And these other little sheds that are lying in the light industrial area, well, they're still standing, was my idea, is to relocate them and put them together in such a way that they formed almost a small replica of the main hall, and they could then become the museum. So it's cottoned on, and it's going to be a reality. We're just waiting on the person to relocate it. And get grants. And so I'm going to have multiple grants to fulfill this goal as well. So the whole story is like you have to have a need and a goal and a want, and you have to be able to sell it, because people want to, you know, embrace the idea and share it and be part of it, because after the, you know, there's a celebration. So what I did, not that I'm the world's guru grant writer by any means, but just as an initial sort of selling point, I broke it up into sections, and I gave a couple of paragraphs to a topic that I called overview, and it just showed that, you know, how many times the Historical Society here in Walpole had tried to get an old cottage or something to become a museum, and it never happened. And we're the only town in the Shire of Manjimup that doesn't have a museum. So then I broke it up, and so we had overview, current status. Then we had I put the objective of what we want. What we want is a museum. And so then I sort of went into the opportunity sort of thing, that there was these sheds that we could use if people came on board with it. And then I went on to financial considerations and which organisations would benefit from this and could be stakeholders or partners in the whole thing, because the Historical Society doesn't have staff. Most community groups don't have many staff, if any. So my idea was to put this museum next to the Tourist Bureau, so that the staff of the Tourist Bureau could show people through the museum. And that's why it didn't happen, because they didn't want to do that. So that's why it's going next to the main hall now. So you have to sort of go with other people's ideas as well. You know, no one wants any extra work. So then I went into a topic called financial considerations of what we need to do physically and how much is it going to cost roughly. And then I put together the proposal and the end result. But then I had a story to go and sell, and people could read it and take it away and sort of see this vision. Not that it went anywhere. I've revamped it since, and it's going somewhere else. But the original vision is still there. So, you know, if you hit a brick wall, don't stop. Just take a sideways step and keep moving forward all the time. Because if it's a good enough idea, it'll come through. So that was all to do with sort of the selling job. But as, you know, as I said, with stakeholders, if there's going to be multiple people or organisations involved, they need to be identified, and you need to have a bit of a meeting with them to see, you know, that they're supportive of the idea and that they're willing to help, and have they got any money to contribute, because for grants, you always need to show your own contribution to, you know, sort of like put your money where your mouth is, and you're going to put a contribution towards it as well. You don't expect the whole thing to be one great big handout. And also, so the stakeholders who are going to be partners and beneficiaries of the end result need to be identified as to what they're doing, whether it's just financial or whether it's going to be physical contribution to, you know, nuts and bolts and nails and bits and pieces, or what, you know, or brain power, or what, making the cuppers, or what, because the workmen have to have cuppers. So all these sort of little different facets have to be taken into consideration. But as we did say, with grants these days, they certainly have changed over the years. It used to be that you would have a form and you would, you know, type it up in word processing, and, you know, you were still limited to number of words per topic, and you had to count the words easy, and they won't let you do one letter over it because it's an online form usually. So you have to make every word count. And this is where the likes of Natika and other younger people than us come in with AI, and they can actually, you know, speak the speak and get AI to put it out, output it in a condensed version, and be very specific as to, you know, the result of what you've input, rather than perhaps a bit like me, does a whole pile of waffle and only gets half the story done. So there's benefits in using AI for that type of thing as well. But then obviously budget, and we were talking about money constraints and things earlier. Keep in mind that for a large project such as Kay's, and maybe what Philip has been involved with, the body who's doing all the work is invariably a not-for-profit, and it comes with time, effort and money usually to provide that management. So build into the budget a percentage for a management fee, and then, you know, at least if you have to do zillions of printouts and stay up till 10 o'clock crossing T's and dotting I's, the organisation you're doing it for will, you know, get some money back for them. And some grant funders require an official audit. So build that also into the management fee, and don't sort of leave it till the end and think, oh, I didn't think of having the grant audited, and then you have to go to your normal funds to find the money. So depending on how much it is, quite often it's about $500 if the books are kept in good order. And the budget also, all the contributions that are going to be made to the overall project. Now, this can be monetary as well as in-kind. So value the in-kind contributions, because it's part of the overall cost of the project. So you might have the budget, and, you know, you've got all this stuff that all the volunteers are doing will cost it out at a reasonable hourly rate, and then, you know, all the actual costs go into the budget, or the estimated costs, hopefully backed up by a quote. Like Bunnings will give a quote for sure. And quite often, if it's a project like yours, Kate, they'll give a discount as well. I had a entertainment shell done for our community garden a couple of years ago, and everything came from Bunnings, and they sourced all the material, and they gave us a $2,000 discount on a $10,000 order. So they're very receptive to community groups. Yeah, really good. And one thing in Walpole, I'll just digress for 2 seconds, is that you know, not everybody has got the luxury, if you can call it the luxury, of having a prison work camp in town, and we do. And invariably we can draw on the inmates through a special process for them to provide free labour for community projects, and that can then get built into the overall cost of the project, but also saves having to secure the services of a tradesman who either needs to charge because he's, you know, running a business, or you're leaning on his good nature to come and do it on a Sunday afternoon in his free time or something like that. But even all of that needs building into the budget. So, and the and also you just never know, especially in this day and age, when you're costing a fairly decent sort of project that's on the construction side, build in a contingency, because prices are rising. Oh, you can't get this brand of concrete, you have to go for this, and it's more expensive, and it's coming from Timbuktu, and there's delays, and then one thing snowballs, and so you need about a 10% contingency, I think, for something that's of decent value. Yeah. Yep. And then you're not going to have a shortfall at the end of it, really. So that was the budget. When it comes to the submission, yes, they're either online or written. I've said that. But go around and get letters of support. There's lots of things that can be done preparatory to submitting the grant application, and it's always good, especially if you're doing a few. Well, first off is to secure some decent letters of support from, say, parties who will benefit from the end result of the project, or you know, just feel local politician who thinks it's a great idea and who supports it morally, you know, just like that. Maybe, you know, like 3 or 4 from a few heavies around the place that count, who've got a letterhead or a, you know, carry a bit of weight, and that can be a bit impressive. And then also with most grants, I haven't come across any grants at all that don't require attachments. So, you know, get your bona fides already, and on the rainy days when, you know, there's nothing much to do, you can gather these and keep them in a folder. So that's why and then you've got them in a folder, and you can keep them current and just grab them at any time, because there's nothing worse than coming down to the wire when, you know, you've got a grant application deadline looming, and you go, oh, where did that ABN certificate go? Or where's the certificate of currency for insurance? And you're running around like a headless chook looking for all these things. So use the time wisely in the quiet times before and pull those together. And usually you would need like a certificate of incorporation, maybe your organisation's annual report, including the treasurer's, the insurance certificate of currency, and your ABN and or ACNC certificates, just to show that, you know, you're a legitimate organisation, and you know, you're worthy of those people donating their money to you. That's what you really have to come through. Not only that you've got a good project, but you're going to be a good manager of it as well. So then part of the grant sort of process is then once it's in, just one little tip: don't ever leave it till the deadline to submit it, which is what I do. You get late people and you get early people, and I'm always a late person. I know I am, and I can't help it. It's just in me. But I can remember submitting a grant application one time for some lighting in a laneway here in Walpole, and it had to be submitted by 12 o'clock. And here I was. It went by email with attachments, and I clicked it at about 2 minutes to 12, send. And it took forever to go, and it was after 12 by the time it finally went, because large attachments, pretty poor internet speed, all the rest of it. Anyway, they didn't accept it because it arrived late. So I was able to go back to my sent box and prove that I had actually clicked send at 2 minutes to 12 beforehand, and they ended up taking it. So I got through by the skin of my teeth. I got the grant, $10,000 for lighting, but that was cutting it far too fine, and it was too nerve-wracking with all the work that you've put into it. You don't want to mess it up at the last minute. So allow yourself some time, because you never know, there might be a power outage or tower might go out or something. Just give yourself some time.
Yep.
And then you sit back and wait for the results of the submission. And then when you get the green light and the big tick, that's when the hard work comes and you have to then start your project. And that's when I would recommend, or not, I would kick in our already pre-designed timeline for the project, especially if it's multi-grant funding bodies. I'd do a spreadsheet and, you know, have the different categories that they're each aspect of the project, and then have a column for each of the funding bodies and how much how much they're contributing, and manage it like financially like that. And then you can have some columns for deadlines, because quite often, if it's fairly hefty, you know, you've got milestones to meet. Sometimes if the grant is quite large, you might have to do an interim report to the funding bodies. So, and they might be different. So you need to have an idea of when those interim reports are due, and get ready to submit what you've done so far. And, you know, if there are multiple people involved in doing stuff, somebody has to be a project manager and be able to, Kay's disappeared again. So you have to be able to keep on people's back, you know, have you done this and have you done that? So it's always good to have one person who is sort of, the buck stops with them, and they can be the overseer, rather than having every man and his dog running around trying. Obviously they all have to do their part, but just having it all come back to one central person or place, and it just makes for a smoother operation, that's all. And always try and have the project completed before the deadline. And as I said, monitor it regularly. And then once it's done, well, that's when the fun part starts, because you have to have a clean up and an announcement and then a celebration. And then you need to acknowledge the funding bodies and have some sort of event to open it or whatever. And have someone cut the ribbon or whatever you're going to do.
I lost you there for a while. My mic slipped.
That's okay, because it's recorded.
Oh, okay.
So don't worry.
Yeah, that's right.
But if you wanted to make notes, I was just talking about the final part of the project, and keep a spreadsheet of who contributed what, and when, you know, when maybe they should finish their part of the job, and have one project manager overseeing it to keep cracking the whip and making sure, you know, that there's no hold-ups, because quite often in a multifaceted project, you know, one thing depends on another one being finished. And so if one's not finished, the other one can't start. And monitor it regularly and complete it before the deadline. So then have the announcement and the celebration, and then comes the final report and the acquittal. If you're doing multiple projects, hello Ralph, how are you going?
Hi, good morning, good afternoon somewhere.
Still morning, you straight in, it's 12 minutes to 12. If you're doing multiple projects, say you were a grants officer and you had lots of balls in the air, I would recommend maintaining a grants register for each one, and then you can monitor it and stay on top of the deadlines. I used to, for ASCCA quite a few years ago, I think I was managing about 5 at a time, and I didn't have an A3 printer at the time, I had an A4, so I was doing it in Excel spreadsheets. But you know, sometimes you just can't beat a piece of paper and a pen. So I printed them all out, and then I sticky taped them up together, and I would come to a board meeting and I would have this rolled up piece of still around here somewhere, roll of paper, and it must have had at least more than 9 A4 sheets stacked sticky tape together, and so all the lines lined up, and I was looking at all the different grants and all the different columns and everything. But by geez, you know, have your finger on the pulse when you manage it like that, rather than having to look each one up and manage it sort of technologically totally. I mean, you can't do it without a computer anyway, but you just can't beat looking at it. And I actually learned that technique in a previous life, and that was before Excel was even thought of, and that's how I used to manage this 9-month project.
I'll be the only one managing it, so yeah, it'll just be an ongoing.
So
I've been taking notes in the notes app up the top of your screen. If you're on a desktop or a laptop, there's there should be an icon there that says notes if you want to have a look. And I think you might be able to add to those if you want, but I've just put Jenny's top 5 tips in there. Hopefully I have not missed any of them.
Thanks.
So,
what I also was going to say was, now what was I going to say? First of all, we were going
running out of time.
I know. And we had planned to have general grants first, which is what this is, and then Natika was going to talk about Be Connected grants as well, for computer clubs who, you know, were looking to applying for any Be Connected grants, and ASCCA applies for those as well. So is anyone interested in learning about or hearing about ASCCA Be Connected grants? And Natika can take it away from there. I remember what I was going to say is, if anyone's interested, I do have access to a number of, and I can get them to you, a list of funding bodies right around Australia, and I subscribe to a lot of them, and they come through my inbox. And there's also grants officers around who will assist you with grant writing for projects, and they build in their fee as a success, 10% of the grant if it's successful, nothing if it isn't successful. So that's usually the fee for a grants officer. So there's lots around. So and all those opportunities there for grants, they're mainly sort of ASCCA type grants, not so much general community grants, but usually local governments will have a community grants program.
They don't have one here. Really? That's the one that's just died. So they don't have anyone to help. Yeah.
No, but the grants program, do they not give out community grants?
They give it, but they don't have any help. They don't give you any help.
No, but well, tap them on the shoulder for the money.
I've just got to be able to apply for them.
Yes. It doesn't hurt also. Like in some respects, WA is really, really lucky in that we have Lottery West. And it doesn't happen in other states, I understand, that all the profits from the lotto tickets and whatever, scratchies and everything, in WA, it all goes to Lotteries West, and they put out millions and millions of dollars in grant funds through that. Yeah. Whereas I know for sure New South Wales, that goes straight into Treasury. Absolutely.
Yeah, so does South Australia. Yep.
Does it? Yeah. No. So we can tap on Lottery West shoulder anytime for anything. They're unbelievable. We couldn't do without them. They're really good. Yeah. Ralph, did you have your hand up?
I did, please, Jenny. That list you're talking about, would it be possible to get a copy?
Yep, if you certainly just click on the notes button up there, you should possibly be able to see it.
But I'm looking for the notes button. It's not leaping at me.
Okay, that's right. I'll make that available to everyone at the end. So
thank you.
No worries.
Thank you.
But I will send a list of all the sites that you can subscribe to for grants newsletters. They're not all going to be suitable, but you just wade through them and pick the eyes out of the ones that suit you. Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Um,
And they're nice to share too.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can I just ask Jennifer if you could say email to me, because you did the building ones, some of your, I know that they're 2016, I think you said, but it might give me some ideas into the wording of that. Would you be able to email
Sure.
that to the very seniors? Yep.
I will hunt up and I'll send you whatever I can find. Yes, I've certainly got it all filed away. Absolutely.
That'd be brilliant. Thanks. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
The only grant that is open through Good Things Foundation's Be Connected at the moment is the Building Digital Communities Round 2. And so that is open until the 3rd of May. But I think your community needs to have a Bendigo Bank in it, because that's a
Yes.
partnership with Bendigo Bank, and the
No, we
focus
don't
is
have it.
no, nor do we. So, so that's the only thing that's open at the moment. And the only thing that I can tell you moving forward for Be Connected is that the closed invitational tender went out early this year to Good Things Foundation, and they're currently working on it. So they're not sure what, I'm pretty confident, 99.9% confident that Good Things will get it again for 2024 through to 2027, and that there will be grants available as of July 1. However, they may look a bit different to what they've looked like in the last 6 or so years, because this is version 3 of Be Connected. So I'm hoping that they're working with the federal government so that it's putting together something that is a bit of an evolution while still having access to those very bare basics, but growing it a bit more, because I think Jen and I are finding that we've trained over the last 6 years something like 400 digital mentors and supported, I haven't even got a number for the clubs, etc., and organisations that we've supported, but we'll be partnering with other peak bodies, etc. So David, your hand is up. What would you like to ask?
I'd just like to make a comment about Be Connect. Personally, I think it's the greatest organisation in the world. And the reason is they pay me $240 a fortnight. To let you know what happens, I'm down in now, I'm the Silver Fox, and my job in the Silver Fox, which is connected to the local college, and I help seniors and with their computers and tablets, and we're funded by Be Connect, and I get the money, so I'm happy.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
That's the way to go. And hopefully moving forward, those grants are even more user friendly. They're not onerous grants to apply for the building digital skills, and they often have devices grants that come out from time to time. There'll be the Get Online Week grant that happens for October again. That'll be announced and open shortly. They're just focusing on getting that tender application locked away and approved by the government, and then they'll be ready to sort of jump back in again. They are moving. They have got a project running at the moment called Digital Sisters AI Literacy. So that's another project, and they are very focused on artificial intelligence digital literacy at the moment and what that's going to be looking like. So I participated in one of those sessions last week, and that's the new fear factor, I suppose you'd call it, for digital literacy and who's getting left behind with this. I mean, we all know that technology has moved very, very fast in the last probably 10 or so years, faster than it had in the previous 10 years. But in the last 18 months, it's moved even faster again. And that's, David, where I was going to show you that tool that will help you write stories.
Can I just make a quick comment about AI? Does anyone know when AI was first used in the computer industry? The year?
It would have been a while ago, because they've had Google and Siri out there.
Give me a year.
No.
99?
Earlier?
Oh. Yep, I'm done. That's my guess. Anyone else?
1950.
Oh.
And it was used, you know, you play solitaire and checkers and things like that, and the next time you play the game, it's a brand new game. that was the start of artificial intelligence in the computer industry.
Right.
Another useless question, does anyone know when the first computer was built?
Oh,
Yeah, I
1800.
did.
Yeah, 1892, I think it was, by a guy by the name of Babbage. And it was probably as big as the wall here that I'm looking at. And all it would do would add, subtract, multiply and divide.
Yeah.
End of useless information for you.
But we all have to start
No, no.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, we should have a quiz night and you could do all the
Yeah,
questions, Dave.
There's a good
Guess
fundraiser
what?
idea for
No.
you, Kay.
Can you give me the year again for the start of AI?
1950. And if I can find the PowerPoint presentation, I'll tell you who it was.
So I'm just going to push on with the AI stuff that I wanted to show you because I have to be away from my desk by 1:15. So there are a whole
I
bunch of
should have to
artificial.
tell you, I'm going to butt in. Take is going on leave and she's flying to Bali tomorrow.
Oh, good on her. Enjoy.
If Air North get me to Darwin in time, but that's another discussion. But I'm also judging the Small Business Awards, and I have my last lot of site visits this afternoon, so I've got to get out and get to those. So there are a couple of different tools you can use. So when we're talking AI, we're talking now since November 2022 generative artificial intelligence. So it's learning from you. So you have to remember that whatever you put into it, it's going to use to learn and make itself better. So it's a bit like your own personal Google search, but on steroids kind of thing. So if you have ChatGPT, you have an account that's signed up to you. However, now Google have let their Gemini loose, and Microsoft's Copilot is in all of the Edge browsers by default. So you don't have to sign up, you don't have to pay, you can use those other ones. And there's a couple of other tools like Goblin tools. So Kay, if you are looking at, I'm just going to show you this one. If you're looking at a project and you're not certain where to start with your task list, etc., this Goblin tool, see how I've put in there, replace the kitchen in a community building, including sourcing, applying for and acquitting grants. Now, these number of chilies here are how much detail we break this.
I'm losing you.
Magic. Oh, are you? Yours will be hard to see on a phone screen, but
Yeah.
So yeah. So replace kitchen in a community building. So conduct research on available grants for community building renovations. So if you want more details in that, and this gives you a very satisfying tick list, so you can tick off what you need to create a detailed budget. Oh, how do I create a detailed budget? So we're going to break that down a bit more. And that's taking time because we're getting lots of detail in this task list. So then you've got a task list that you can work on and tick off. So it's kind of like helping you prepare your project plan.
Yep.
So we'll let that one keep doing its thing because it's
So
obviously.
Can you send that so that I know what I'm looking at? I can't see it on the phone.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Can you like email those? So yeah.
Yep. So I'll put this in.
I don't even understand the terminology artificial intelligence. It just doesn't compute with me. So I think I'm behind the 8 ball.
Well, that's where we can have more conversations around that moving forward. Under what we're doing through Be Connected at the moment. So that's not a problem at all for me. Basically, it's like having a little person in your computer or next to you that's really, really smart, knows everything in the world, and everything you tell it, it learns more from. And so then when you talk to it, you ask it what you want, and it will put together responses that are relevant and hopefully factually correct. So
Yep.
you do need to check your facts. It's not always going to be 100% correct. So just keep that in mind. There's lots of disclaimers on it saying, you know, you do need to fact check. So
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
It's
it
like-
heads you in the right direction, and it gives you
Yeah.
a whole lot of information that is then editable and you can then customize it to suit you so that it doesn't
Yep.
scream that it's been written in AI. But it does draw from existing public information up
Yeah.
to 2 years ago. So anything
Yep.
that's happened from the last 2 years, you need to add the current things to it.
So
While I've
that's with
butted
the
in,
that's with the free
Ralph's good
versions.
example.
With the paid version of GPT-4, and they've just released a newer version again of 4. Apparently, I haven't read all about that yet, but you can create your own GPTs in here. So you can see this one, I've got a grant assistant one. So I've created this by telling it about myself, my business, and what it is I like to achieve. So then I can ask it things like, there's preset questions in there. How do I start a grant application? So it will just spit out for me. So this is what you do, research and select the grant. It's similar to the Goblin Tools list that we were just creating. But this will give you a point by point breakdown. What you can also do in here is copy and paste the questions in your grant application and say, can you answer this question for me within 200 words, telling me
Right.
that I need to do, that I aim to do blah, 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 and blah. And it will spit it out for you in an appropriate number of words, etc. So then it's up to you to go through it and just review and make sure it's not for profits. You could potentially write a letter of introduction to small, like your local business community or your you know, small businesses or industry or anything, because don't discount using their philanthropic desires to further your community causes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
is that program available to, or a program like that to give you that checklist that's available?
Yes.
Yep.
So if you type
Absolutely.
into your browser, I'm going to put
Yep.
the link in down the bottom, goblin.tools. Any browser on any computer that's accessible by anyone by using that
Yep.
particular set of letters as your
Yep.
URL. So that's the website, goblin.tools. That's it.
Yep.
And so
Okay,
there's
thank you.
also in that one, in the checklist one, up the top, if I go back here just quickly, there are see the little pancake stack here. There are formalizers. So this is where if you don't have ChatGPT or you're not sure of it, you can put your text in here and then you can ask it to make it more polite, more formal, less
Yes, or more
formal.
female. Remember that speech I did for the Bibbleman track, and it came out as if it was some male professional delivering it. So we toned it down to
Yeah,
female.
I think that was
soft.
ChatGPT though, Jen. This one's
Yes, it
this
was.
one's just
That's what
a
I
bit.
said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's, but you've also got Google's Gemini, so that's Google's AI, generative AI. And then in Microsoft, this little icon here on the top of your Edge window, that's your Copilot. So you can see you can put stuff in more creative, more balanced, more precise. So just keep in mind that when you're putting information in here, if you're putting it into Gemini, Google's harvesting. If you're putting it into Copilot, Microsoft's harvesting. If you're putting it into ChatGPT, Elon is harvesting. So just keep that in.
They're all looking, but even
Keep
so, they're all looking anyway.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
Can I
But
ask a
one
question?
thing, if you, yes,
Yes, Ralph.
go for it, Ralph.
Is there anything special about the computer that you're using to run ChatGPT?
No.
No.
In answer to that, no. One thing about chat, I paid money on them, and 3 months ago, I cancelled my application and they still haven't refunded me for the next 2 months that they took money out of my account. So I wouldn't recommend that organisation to anyone at all. You can't talk to anyone. You're lucky to get an email to someone because
Yeah.
it's run by AI.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. So I do have the paid version of ChatGPT because I use it a lot for some of the work that I
For your
do. So
business. Yeah.
yes, and creating alt text from photographs for websites, that's my favourite use of it, because that used to be really tough for me to sit and think about how to describe an image going onto the website and stuff. So there's lots of things that it can do. So it just makes life a bit easier for me. But before I wind that up, I'm happy for you to all stay here, Jen, if you can shut this down at the end, but I do have to go
Sure.
shortly. But I did want to mention that the 3G network is closing down at the end of June. I
Absolutely.
know that we're off a little bit off the grants topic.
Well, Telstra, I think Optus is September.
Yes, so if you're Telstra, which I hazard a guess that 99% of regional clients are, but there's a big chunk of the population on Telstra. If you're concerned whether your smartphone will work at the closure of that network, there is a way you can check your device. So from your device, you open up a text message and you send it to 3498. The number is 3498, and you text the number 3 to that number, and it will come back and tell you what version smartphone you have and if that is going to be impacted with the closure of the 3G network. So as seniors computer clubs and supporting seniors and technology, it would be a good one to familiarise yourselves with and maybe run an info session that if people do have phones that are going to be impacted, you can support them through purchasing upgraded devices.
What's the number you text that 3498 to?
So that is the
text
number.
3498
is the number. That's the
Who
phone
do you
number.
text it to?
That number
3498.
3498. Let me show you mine. So here. So
I reckon there'd be some older seniors on 3G.
Yes, exactly. So this is the text
forward.
message, Ralph. So you can see up here, text to 3498. That's the entirety of the number you text it to. And then I just text the number 3. And they've come back from Telstra as of February 24. Our records indicate the phone that you've used, so my phone is Apple iPhone 14 Pro, and that your device will be compatible once the 3G is turned off.
So what's the number you text to them if you're a Samsung Android?
No, you use the number 3498 instead of a phone number to text to them, and then you text the number 3.
Okay.
And then you send the text message.
Roger that. Thanks very much.
That's okay. So it would be worth you as clubs supporting seniors with technology, having some sessions to support people to purchase new devices perhaps, so that they don't have to put up with the sales pitch from the Harvey Normans and the Retras and all that, because the people in there just want to sell your phone and that's it. So it can be a daunting sort of prospect for people to buy new technology. So
I've just had the message back, even through satellite Wi-Fi calling, and it said exactly that. Yes, thanks for using our Telstra 3G checker. The 3G network will turn off on 30th of June 24, so I don't have to do anything.
Okay. Jenny, could you actually email that list of grant possible sources, please?
I will.
Jen,
yes, I will.
Can you get into the notes and add it in the meeting notes?
There's no
and
sign
then
of a single.
I'll just email.
Notes.
No, I'm talking to Jen. So if Jenny can add it into the notes here, because she's a member in this ASCCA team, and then I'll be able to send from that one. In the chat panel, there should be a link in the chat just above where David's put his stuff. I've put in the Goblin Tools, and then there should be a link in there for the ASCCA Clubs forum. Whether you can access it or not, I'm not sure, but yeah.
But
so
that's
Jen,
okay. We've got a record of everyone who has come, and so the links are from different, areas. So I'll just have to compile them onto one list and send them to you. Yes.
Yep.
Thanks, David, for putting that up.
That's all right. It's quite interesting, that.
Good. I'll invite you to the next quiz night when we're doing some fundraising.
Don't expect any more like
I
that.
tell you what we did do once, Kay, in our hall, not that just because we did it as a be all and end all of everything, but we needed some new chairs, to sit in if we had a movie night or something like that, because I got a grant for a big screen and all the rest of it. And I ran an adopt a chair thing, and
I'm
Tate's got to go.
So, yeah,
Happy
so you all
holidays.
keep talking. All right.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Ciao.
Okay.
Have a great holiday.
Remember us when you're under the palm tree. So I ran this adopt a chair, and I got a quote from the chair supplier in Perth, and we needed 100 padded chairs, and we got them at a good price, $50 each, and then obviously they had to have cartage for 500 kilometres, and I built all that in, and I ran a barometer on sort of like on the wall where we had achieved it all. And what happened was people would donate money to buy a chair outright, and we were a branch of Bendigo Bank at the same time. That's why I'm organising a grant to go the application, with Be Connected, because they've now partnered with Bendigo Bank. And I was the Walpole principal there. Anyway, Bendigo Bank very kindly offered to fund a little plaque. And because we've got a prison work camp here in Walpole, the prisoners then, the engraved plaques, this chair was donated by Ray and Jenny Wilcox, and the prisoners put the plaque on the back of the chairs. And here we are 20 years later, and the chairs are still in use, and the plaques are still on the chairs. So it's really,
Bendigo Bank is very supportive.
Very, very.
Bendigo Bank is very supportive of community groups.
There's none
Absolutely.
in the Riverland. Yeah.
Not really.
Okay.
None.
Bye all.
Mike, you had a question?
Yeah, that 3G checker that you were just talking about, that was only for Telstra, I presume?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
Vodafone have already closed their 3G network because my internet dongle with them had to be upgraded to a 4G SIM and device a month or so ago. Do you know if there are similar checks available for Optus and Vodafone?
No, I don't, but I know that Optus is closing at end of September.
Yeah, I saw that.
So something will come out a bit closer, I would expect, because Telstra's end of June, so they've decided to give us 2 months or something, April, May, June, 3 months notice. Yeah, so I guess, but we were sort of predominantly talking about regional because regional is predominantly Telstra.
It's got to be Telstra.
Well, that's right. We're actually having an inquiry in Western Australia. It was announced on Wednesday into the whole telecommunications in regional WA because it's absolutely atrocious. Yes. Would you believe Cocos Island, where Natika's just recently been to deliver Be Connected, they still have 2G? Yeah.
Wow.
Half their life.
And it doesn't work. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, but anyway, that was a very interesting little adjunct that she's given us there, certainly about AI. So Absolutely. It's going to rule the world if it doesn't already, I think.
Mm.
Yes.
The mobile phone
Anybody
you've
else?
got now, the mobile phone you've got now is 20 to 30% controlled by AOA. And within 3 years, it'll be about 80%. Get a bit more
Right.
useless information for you.
Thank you, David. That's brilliant.